Everyone. Hi, it's so nice to see so many of you pop up. I am Sonia Haria. Welcome to the final session of the Telegraph Beauty School in association with Laces and Beauty. My name is Sonia Haria. I'm the beauty director at the Telegraph. And over the next 45 minutes, we'll be talking to the hairstylist Andreas Wild. He's amazing, about how you can discover your best hair. We'll be discussing textures, colors, cuts, and also diving into the emotional aspect of hairdressing. So yes, joining me this evening is Andreas Wild. He's an amazing hairdresser. He is a hairdresser to the stars, so his regular clients include Gemma Arterton, Sophie Ellis-Bextor, and even Alan Carr. So I'm very, very pleased to be welcoming Andreas. He is live from the Larry King Hair Salon in South Kensington. I just saw Andreas earlier on the screen, and it feels very nice to see the inside of a hair salon, even though it's another 2.5 weeks until we can actually get into that hairdresser's chair at the earliest. But I'm very, very excited to be speaking to Andreas here today. Hello! Thank you so much for joining me today for our last session of Telegraph Beauty School. I mean, we've got a lot to discuss because, let's be honest, hair has been a big part of everyone's lives in the last 12 months. If we didn't realise how much we loved our hairdressers pre-pandemic, we certainly do now, because I think the value of hairdressing has suddenly been like, for people that perhaps, you know, would have taken their hairdresser for granted, now it's like, wow, I need to go and see my stylist again. So we'll be covering off lots of questions today. And also what I'd love to talk to you about at the end is the whole kind of emotional aspect of hairdressing, which is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's kick off with one of our most popular topics. We have lots of questions about how to get volume in fine hair, and also the cut for fine hair, because I feel like fine hair is quite a common concern for a lot of people. Is it something you see in your chair quite often?
Yeah, definitely. I think that a lot of women who have fine hair, they kind of try very hard to give it more volume or to make it there is more hair, right? But a lot of times, my first advice actually is what I give to my clients. It's first of all, it's a lot to do with the haircut, right? That you actually find the right haircut and the right style for you. That you really talk to your stylist and you're not afraid to ask actually questions how you should do it or how you should style your hair or how you should cut your hair, right? But a lot of times my saying is, you know, you should really work with your hair, because a lot of times with some of my girlfriends, you know, when we go out, they start off with a lot of volume and then it comes down and then they get quite frustrated. And I say to them, you know what, just work with your hair and start off already with kind of less, and then it will stay like this. It's less frustrating to see it from, you know, going in. Exactly. So I think, Oh no,
I just going to ask, so with a haircut, is it best, or does it not matter if you've got really long hair with fine hair, or should you perhaps have a slightly shorter style for more volume?
Well, I think there is definitely certain lengths which kind of looks better or works better. I mean, you always have to work with the hair, because sometimes when the hair is super long, right, and sometimes it just looks too wispy at the end, it does look quite unhealthy. I mean, there is this kind of certain hippie Ibiza look, which I quite like as well, you know, which works in the summer really well when the hair is super long. But I think if you want that your hair looks fuller, you should definitely have a shorter length, you know. So, and I think we're going to talk about trends later, but at the moment there are so many haircuts, you know, if it's more like to the collarbone or like more the bobs and all of that to make the hair look fuller. So there is a lot you can do with the haircut for sure.
Right, that's really interesting. So we had a lot of questions also around whether fine hair should have lots of layers in it. I mean, does choppy haircuts, does that help to add volume, or is it again very much kind of down to the haircut?
You know, it's a funny one, because it is, when you look at a lot of models or a lot of celebrities, they do have finer hair, and they really rock that look with actually that it looks quite messy and it looks quite fine at the end. It really is a type thing. That's why I said early on, it's so important to talk to your stylist. I mean, when you look at just Billie Eilish, she just went completely blonde, and her hair is quite wispy and quite funky with that heavy fringe, but I really like it. But I think it's for a very specific type, and that's what you have to find for yourself. If it's because it's a feeling thing as well, you know, like a lot of clients say, oh, the hair feels too wispy, the hair doesn't give me enough volume, but some girl or client, they really like that feeling, that kind of messiness, that there is no, you know what I mean? It's a feeling thing. So there is no rule book, but I think I would maybe stay away from over layering it, because obviously what you take away from the layers on the top is obviously missing somewhere, because you kind of take maybe a quarter or half of the hair kind of away with layers. So you have to be a little bit careful.
Right, that's really interesting. And in terms of like products from home, would I mean, I know we're going back to the 80s here, but would a mousse help? What are your thoughts on
I'm
mousse?
obsessed with a mousse, darling. I grew up in Germany. I love a mousse, all about a mousse. Yeah, definitely a mousse is a really good product to just let your hair dry naturally. You just sometimes have to be careful that it can make it a little bit crisper, right? So what I recommend is sometimes just to mix it with a serum, or with like a little bit of a cream. You know, I'm a big fan of mixing products together. Or for instance, you asked me earlier on about products for volume. You know, like you would use like a volumizing spray on your roots, but then a little bit of a cream at your ends, or some mousse in the ends. You know what I mean? So try a combination, you know, with products. I think that is quite important as well. But mousse, yeah.
That's such a good tip. That's amazing, because whenever I use mousse in my hair, you sometimes fall into that kind of slightly crunchy territory. But that's a good tip to mix with, you know, maybe an oil or
Exactly, because you just take that edginess of that crispy kind of look, you know what I mean? And also, I think it's quite important that you apply when the hair is quite wet. I know a lot of people would say that they apply more when the hair is already quite towel dry, but because I say do it when the hair is quite wet, because it reduces the product a little bit and that crispiness. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think when you apply mousse, I quite like that actually. Let's call it mousse from now on. When you actually use mousse, that it can make it too crisp when the hair is already too dry.
Okay, that's really good to know. And so we also have lots of questions around curly hair. So I know curly hair, there's a huge kind of spectrum of different types of curls, but is there a lot more to consider when you're looking at curly hair? Like, how would you, as a hairdresser, kind of almost assess a curly hair cut, and also the types of products? How would you change and adapt the types of products that you recommend to someone with curly hair?
You know, I think it's a good question. I think with curly hair, there are just some ground rules. Yeah. And that's what how I explain it to my clients. There are just rules you cannot break. That's the way it is, right?
Right.
So I'm getting quite German now, being very strict with the curly rules, right? But so basically you use a shampoo and a conditioner, or use more a treatment as well, because a lot of times curly hair is just more dry. Yeah. So then I would apply a serum. It depends on not the texture, if it's really fine or thicker. You have to be careful with the amount, but you do that in really, really wet hair. You can use also as a combination some mousse on the top of it, or you can use like a curling spray. And then you can use a white comb. So after you washed it, and this is actually the last time you're gonna really run your hands through your hair or brush your hair, because this is the most important rule. You just can't do that, right? So as less you actually touch curly hair, because you always have to think about there's sometimes quite a lot of moisture in your hands. So every time you go through it, it can bring the frizz out in your hair. So stay away from doing this. Just always crunch it. So when I go for dinner with my friends who have curly hair, and they even go, I'm like, no, crunch it, okay? And then I think it's the best thing to do to let it dry naturally, or to use a diffuser, to bring out that natural movement. And then obviously just use a little bit of some tongue if you want to kind of break it all up a little bit, or it is a little bit frizzy. And then don't comb it until the next shampoo. And the best thing to do is actually then the day after, just re-tongue it a little bit, or just put some curling spray, or even just some water, like what you water your plants with.
Yeah.
And just make it a little bit damp again, that the curl can come out again.
So does that kind of stop frizz, essentially?
Well, the frizz is more than that. You actually put like the serum in, or you put like an oil in, or you can use like a cream the next day, or some wax by shorter hair. So that brings obviously the frizz down, you know, because we all know with the moisture with curly hair, it goes definitely more frizzy. Well, but if you follow those rules,
yeah,
then
you're done. Yeah, amazing. Let's talk about frizz, because I feel like frizz is a huge topic. I mean, it's something I personally, I'm like, if I see a product with frizz on it, I'm like, yep, I need that. Are there any types of products that you think are really good for frizzy hair, and how would you use them in your kind of routine?
Well, I mean, there are so many products out there who are obviously designed, you know, for frizzy hair. So there is a very big market who already like bring the cuticles down, kind of just to bring to tame the frizz, basically, right? And so I would, if it's like super frizzy, which is a lot to do also with extremely dry hair, I would use a lot of more times than actually a treatment instead of a conditioner, and leave that on a little bit longer. A great tip is always also, you know, when you are in the shower, shampoo your hair, put a treatment on, and then wash your body, because then there's always a certain amount the treatment is in your hair, right? And also, you know, like use a silk pillowcase instead of a normal cotton one, because it kind of brings it all down. So there are definitely ways, and I think, but treatments and serums are definitely great to bring the frizz down, tame the frizz.
And would that apply even if you've got quite fine hair? Because sort of, you know, fine hair can get quite frizzy. Would you just opt for a slightly lighter treatment product?
Exactly, because I think what we said earlier on with the mousse, I realized that sometimes when you use that's another good point actually for really quite for finer hair, because sometimes it just makes the hair too dry, and then that brings out the frizz even more. So I would actually stay away with that, and even say less is more when it comes to the products, because also it kind of gives it a build up and it makes it sometimes too heavy. That's another thing, you know, like that a lot of women think like, oh, I need to put a lot of hairspray on, and it's quite an 80s thing as well, you know. It's this kind of, but it actually brings it all down. And so I think definitely less is more, and just find the right product for you, which I think would be what I said, like a frizzy shampoo and a conditioner, but nothing too heavy. So that's correct what you said as well. Sometimes it's just really less is more.
And so quite a few of our pre-submitted questions were about long hair. So I think a lot of our audience have got quite long hair. In terms of maintaining condition with quite sort of long, thick hair, again, would it be about kind of looking at sort of intensive treatments to keep the condition really good?
Yeah. Definitely, because you always have to bear in mind how old the hair is. That's a good way of describing it. What you've been through, the seawater, the color, the blow dries, you know, like when you think it's really long, the hair could be 3 years old, you know, like even in the end. So it's a thing, you know. I think fashion-wise, obviously, I think we are quite lucky because it, you know, even if it's not really perfect and the ends are a little bit thin and all of this, I love that, you know, like when it's not like a proper straight line and all of that. So it's definitely on trend. But you said the right thing. It's about moisturizing and also let your hair naturally dry. It's interesting now actually with this lockdown, or like the last one as well, the clients came back a lot of times with obviously longer hair, but also with healthier hair, because you can just tell that they had more time to look after their hair, to kind of have like fun with it, to put more treatments on and make themselves feel better, and also just do less treatments on it, you know. But I think these days, you know, like with so many products and Olaplex you can put in and all of that, that you can actually, with the color as well, there are so many ways now to make the hair definitely less dry and less damaged.
Amazing.
So,
yeah.
And a regular cut. I mean, obviously it's a regular cut, but also, you know, that's a really good thing as well, that I've got clients who know they really want to grow their hair, or they don't want to lose much of their length, that I actually just say, come in on a regular basis, I cut your hair dry, and it doesn't need to be a full haircut. For instance, I've got clients that they have shorter in the front, or their hair is more dry on the top, so I just cut that, but don't touch the rest. You know, it doesn't always need to be this whole cut and blow dry. It's sometimes just, and then, or I send people away. I said, you don't need a cut yet, you know, or just trim a little bit.
That's so interesting. So you can go in for these kind of like micro trims.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Or do like, you know, when you twist the hair and you just do the splits to make it look healthier. That makes a big difference as well.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
so
always
that just
when I see that at a hairdresser, the incredible, like, it always looks just so pro, doesn't it?
yeah, I know. There's a lot. Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But it does work. It makes a big difference.
And so we're going to sort of move on to color in a minute. But before we do, I'd love to ask you about trends. So obviously we've all been through a lot in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Do you see trends shifting for kind of you know, women in their 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond? Is it have trends moved on, or do you feel like actually it's a return to kind of the classics of hair?
I think, you know, with trends, it always moves on. It never stands still. You know, it's just, if people follow it, that's a different story. But it's a lot of times that you know, you don't have to always follow. It's the same with fashion. The trend, you can just pick a little bit of the trend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, for me, it's such a huge trend is there's really quite thick one lengthy bob with a little short little French fringes, who I adore. But you know, you can always start with the French bob and then have maybe a little bit of some. You don't need to, you know what I mean, do always the whole thing, right? But I think on trend is definitely like the extreme look, obviously with the mullets, who I adore, you know, like this. I just, you know, like I've seen models who have this kind of like with the mullety kind of look and a heavier fringe and all of that. So I really hope that women come out of this and want a statement, like a kind of, they are brave and more of a statement haircut, you know, that people actually really ask you who cuts your hair, or how did that happen, which I think that's what I would hope for. But also from last time experience, a lot of times women really wanted to change. They said, because you kind of realize that, you know, a lot of times obviously the hair grew out, so you kind of ended up in a completely different shape, which you maybe never kind of aimed for because it just happened. And then you just cut fringe in and suddenly you realize, oh my God, this is so cool. And you got a completely different haircut, you know. But also, you know, when I grew up in Germany, what I said earlier on, and when I trained when I was 17 in this small little salon in my village, and it was a trend that you would have like, don't laugh, like symmetric and there's a long bit there and then you color this bit. But what I'm trying to say with that is that people stopped you on the street and said, who cut your hair?
Yeah.
And I think we kind of went away from that a little bit. I think it turned more into a color thing, you know, that, oh, who does your highlights? Because a lot of girls, which I love, don't get me wrong, is this longer, beachy kind of messy hair, which we all wanted for a long time now, you know. And then I think a lot of celebrities or like singers, they kind of changed it then. They kind of turned it into a look and people wrote about hair, you know. So, and I really hope that's what's going to happen. But trend-wise, really, I think those bobs, I love a fringe. I'm obsessed with fringes because you can change so much or soften the face or keep the length and all of that. So I think there will be a lot of that around.
And how do you know if a fringe suits you? Like, how would you? Is there a rule book there when it comes to fringes?
Do you know there is no rule book, and that is the thing about a fringe. There is no rule book. You should definitely, obviously, talk to your hairdresser, and you can hold the hair there. And sometimes, again, you don't need to start with the full thing. You can. I've got clients that are not ready for what's in my head, what I know they could get away with, but sometimes just to shape it a little bit in the front and then say, come back next time and we do a little bit more. I'll come back in a week, or, you know, there is this connection, you know, to kind of there. So that's why there is, I mean, obviously it's again, it's about the woman itself, how brave they are, how extreme they want to go. You know, there is no rule book about this is what works best. I mean, obviously, if I would explain it to an assistant who's start cutting hair, you kind of have to say, oh, you know, if the face is a little bit round, then be careful to cut it too heavy that it doesn't get too squashed. Or, you know, there are some rules, but maybe that is something really works on a certain type of woman, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always sort of, you know, gradually grow a fringe or have a sort of cut a fringe in baby steps, essentially.
Exactly. But when you think about as well with the curls, I mean, I remember when it was, you could never cut a fringe in with curly hair. Because I even did that as well. I said, no, we can't do that. Because can you imagine you get too hot in the summer? Or can you imagine it jumps up and then you've got this fringe there? Now I'm obsessed with it. Yeah. You know, because then you suddenly, you saw it like on some people and I was like, oh my God, this is actually really, really cool. So you see, there is this change of then that women then actually say there is no rule book because suddenly now there are curly fringes everywhere. So, and it really works.
Curly fringes look incredible, don't they? Like so.
Yeah, but they never used to be. They never used to be. There was, I don't know, I've never really seen them. And then suddenly, you know, it's, yeah, it's great.
And with a curly fringe, just while we're on the topic, would you always, you know, ask your hairdresser to cut it a couple of inches longer or an inch longer because of the movement?
Yeah, I mean, you would normally cut it dry, you know, and you kind of have to cut it quite freehand. You can't really like pull it down. There can't be like tension too much on it. Otherwise, it does jump up. So I do a lot of times, or maybe I actually 100%, I cut my fringes dry.
Yeah, okay, that's really good to know. So moving on to thinning hair, because you know, I think actually in the last year it's been a real talking point. It's something that we've kind of written a lot of pieces about at the Telegraph. Are there certain ways that you can sort of style your hair or cut your hair if you have got sort of thinning hair? What would be your sort of your hairdresser's expertise on thinning hair?
Oh, you mean when your hair gets thinner? Is that what you mean? Sorry.
Yes, yeah, totally. So if
when you get thinner. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely ways of hiding it or make your hair look fuller. Like a fringe is, for instance, a very good thing to do. And also, you know what I say quite often is, when you think about, when you look at someone's face, the first thing you see is the hairline. And a lot of times, you know, like women, they had a baby and their hair falls out in the front a little bit more, or it gets a little bit thinner, right? But the rest is still quite thick. And that's when you then start talking about, oh, let's just cut a fringe in, or cut some like a grown out fringe in, because then the hair just looks fuller, because it's the first thing you see. And a lot of times I witnessed that the hair is actually not fine. It's just that baby hair in the front, you know, which a lot of people have. So I think that's a very easy way to change it. I mean, and obviously there is the way now these days with extensions and all of that to kind of put a few in the front to make it look fuller, or tapes. There is some great things you can do. And again, maybe stay away from too many layers, and just keep it a little bit more solid and that kind of thing, you know, to make it look fuller. But again, that is something which is so important, to have this relationship with your hairdresser to actually discuss all of that. And then there is obviously, you know, like certain products who will help, or certain things you can take, or you get a blood test done, for instance, to know if maybe there's iron missing or certain vitamins. So I do, when I notice that my clients, I would send them for a blood test and actually say, you know what, just get that checked out, because sometimes it's just something missing, and then you kind of build it up again.
That's really interesting. I mean, it's sometimes it is kind of a small switch, or you know, like you say, it could be something quite obvious. And that's great. And so a lot of our pre-submitted questions were from readers who are perhaps growing out their grey hairs. And you know, in the past sort of year, actually deciding perhaps I'm not going to go back to colour. And do you have any kind of style tips or ways that you would kind of make that transition from colouring your hair to letting your hair go grey?
So if I answer that now, I'm going to start a war with every colorist in this country. You do realize that, right? No, but you know what? I am a big fan of growing your hair out. I really, really am, right? And I noticed that I had, after last lockdown, 3 clients who actually grew their hair out white, which I really, really liked. So again, there is definitely, you need to try to cut out as much as you can, and also to kind of strip the hair of the color to make it lighter. Yeah. And then there's definitely some colorways that you actually have to discuss them with your colorist, how to do it best. And a lot of times is also that it looks better when you have a few darker bits in or something, you know, to still kind of make it more salt and pepper, or all of that, or like also work with a toner, because what you don't want is gray hair with the kind of yellow kind of in it. That's not what you want. So you would use like a silver shampoo and all of that. But I still have like a lot of clients who have gray hair and still get color done. So they still would have some bits done, but the base is white. But I think it looks great. I love it.
It's so incredible. Yeah.
It's a freedom. It's kind of a freedom as well, you know, like especially when we dark hair. And it's because the thing is, and that's the honest truth, like it just goes out so quickly, and then you kind of always feel like you feel kind of too undone, or not. And people are kind of like, look at you and go get your roots done, but you just had them done, so it's controlling your life. But there's also ways, obviously, just to lighten your color and all of that it's less intense, you know, when you grow it out, or there's a lot of things you can do.
Okay, so a sort of gradual process to kind of lighten
exactly.
And how about straight hair? Because let's cover straight hair. If you've got kind of, you know, just straight hair that you want to jazz up a bit, or cut some, you know, some sort of style into a sort of, you know, straight hairstyle, what would be your first port of call?
When you have really straight hair,
I
mean, it's I do like even like little things, you know, when you just thin out the ends a little bit with a razor or something to just make that a little bit more messy and a little bit more undone. Or what I'm a big fan of, or the way I cut hair a lot, is that I just use like random pieces and just take them a little bit shorter with the razor to get a movement in it, but layers you don't see. I call them the invisible layers. You know, like it's not following, it's very, very freehand. It's very just like giving a movement, because a lot of times, especially when you've got quite thick straight hair, it doesn't really do anything. It just,
No.
it can look nice on a specific type of woman, but it can sometimes go a little bit back to a schoolgirl, you know, when you see one length, like all pretty. But I think a lot of women, I think that just, and also when you walk, I love that movement, you know, even when it's really straight, when you kind of walk and there's something happening, or you put your hands in and you get a little bit of some movement or messiness in it, which is sometimes quite difficult to achieve when the hair is too straight. So just like with random pieces, with like a razor or just some, you know, softness around the face and all of that, you can do a lot of change very, very quickly.
And with kind of shaping around the face, are there any rules there? Do you sort of need to take a guide as to, you know, I guess your face shape, or is there anything that, any rules around kind of that face framing feathering around the face?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when you cut the hair short in the front, I always say it just opens your face.
Yeah.
And it brings your eyes out more, because a lot of times, obviously, when this part here covers a lot, you cover a lot, right? But obviously, if you start framing it and make it look softer or harder with a fringe or whatever you want to do, it's a big difference. So I think it's about opening the face, understanding your client's face shape, understanding your client, because it's also asking, or what I always say to assistants, ask open questions. Don't ask questions a client can answer with yes or no. You need to find out about their lifestyle, about sport, about their jobs, about, you know what I mean, what they really want or what you can do for them. But face framing, I think it's a very big thing, especially also when you put your hair up or you have it in a ponytail. It just looks really sexy and it just looks really, really cool, you know.
Yeah. And so I'm going to take a couple of questions we've had lots of questions. So in terms of actually in terms of hair color, do you feel like actually you should sort of should you adapt your hair color in the summer months? Is that something you should perhaps have a conversation with your colorist?
Definitely. I think that it's always a journey. I think what makes a good colorist is, or a good hairstylist is this kind of like, today I would do this, instead of, I really hate that when someone says, oh, that's like the last time. I find it quite, and I always try that even to change something for me and the client, because I think it just gets really boring. So I think with color, yeah, I think a lot of women want to go lighter, or they want to do something different in the summer, and the colorists have to adjust that, or you kind of play around with it with certain color conditioners or toners. You still hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can.
Oh, I can't see anymore, so I just see myself now, which is fine for me.
Okay, I can still hear you loud and clear.
Say it again? Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So now to answer your question, I think it's definitely important to adjust the color, because the color always changes with washing it, or with seawater, or with things like that. So you always can actually just pop it up a lot, you know, with, yeah, as I said, with toners or color conditioners, or, yeah, just a little bit lighter in the front or something like that.
Great. And so a couple of questions. So Bridget has asked, I have short, very straight hair. How would you give it a bit of a wave?
You can always try first to let it dry naturally, because a lot of times, a lot of women don't know that they actually have a natural wave in it or like a natural volume. So I think the good thing is just maybe put a little bit mousse in and see what happens. You can use a diffuser to put, you know, on your blow dryer just to kind of bring out your natural volume. And then it depends on the length. Obviously, you can use a tongue, but for that you need a certain length, because if it's too short, then that doesn't really work. But you can definitely get a kink in with a diffuser. I think that's the best idea for really short hair. Use a diffuser, crunch your hair, or just let it dry naturally.
Amazing. And what about for split ends? What would be your usual advice for split ends? Is that something?
I mean, definitely a regular haircut, because when the hair is split ends, they need to go. That's just the way it is, because it just gets more split and it kind of goes up. But what I said earlier on, I think sometimes the hair is more split on the top, so just don't have that fear of you always need that proper haircut. You know, it's sometimes just to kind of really look where the split is and kind of just take that away. I think that is, yeah.
Yeah. And how often should you be having your hair cut?
I think around 7-8 weeks. It depends on the length of the hair and also what kind of sharpness you like for your own liking. But I think to keep it healthier and keep the hair in a great shape and all of that, I think around 7 to 8 weeks.
Okay. And in terms of, so we've been asked a couple of questions about hair extensions.
Yeah.
Do you feel like hair extensions have actually come a long way in the last few years?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. And which ones would you, I mean, are there any things to bear in mind if you did want to go down the hair extensions route?
The thing is, again, I think there are just so many experts now who are so amazingly trained that you definitely have to find the right person to do them. That's very important. And it's something also, you know, like if you know someone's got them and you look at them and then you kind of ask who did them. So, and I think that there are so many then rules they can tell you how to look after them and all of that, you know, so there are specific products, there are just very specific way to look after them. But what you just said as well, there have been involved so much and so much development that they look just so much more natural and it's much better for the hair and all of that. And, you know, you get tapes, and also I'm quite a big fan as well. If you don't want to go for the complete extension thing, that you get those clip-ins, you just use, you know, to make the hair look fuller for a night out or something like that. So there are a lot of different ways, but find an expert and talk to the person who can really recommend you what is best for you. That's, yeah, the way to do it.
I mean, I've definitely, from sort of my side, I've definitely seen, you know, hair extensions, the technology around them has come
a
very long way, even in the last the last few years. Oh, Louise, I know Louise is saying she misses going to the hairdresser more than anything. And
that's so nice, huh?
It's so nice to see actually a salon space in the background. I'm sort of yearning to go to a salon now.
Yeah.
So Karen's asked, how often should you wash your hair?
Well, that depends. I mean, if you obviously have, it's a feeling thing. It's if your hair gets easily oily or something like that, then I would wash it more. But also then use maybe dry shampoo in between. I mean, I would recommend every 2-3 days. I don't think I would wash it every day. But again, that's a feeling thing. I've got clients who I say, don't wash your hair every day, but they need to do it because they go to the gym a lot or something like that. Yeah. But also what you can also do is just use a shampoo on your roots and go a little bit like this and then rinse it out. You don't always have to put it all through, you know, so just put it a little bit there in your hand, so to kind of clean your scalp. But you don't have to use the shampoo always in all of your hair, because it kind of, when the water goes down, the shampoo goes through your hair anyway. You know, so that's kind of a little trick maybe as well, to kind of stay away from over shampooing it. And I love shampoo. I mean, who doesn't? That's something, it's so cool because it gives you nice texture and all of that. But I think that is, yeah, every 2-3 days.
And how about kind of are there any kind of really sort of structured hairstyles that you think look really great? Any kind of more tailored cuts, or is it again very much down to your taste?
It's again down to your taste, but there are statement haircuts. I mean, when you go back in the history with Twiggy, or with so many famous icons who had specific hairstyles, you know exactly that's that person, and I love that, and that's what I meant earlier on. I really hope that comes back. That it's that statement, and even like think of Anna Wintour, like this. You always know it's her. It's this. I sat behind her in London in the theater actually, and I saw the hair first and her. Do you know what I mean? Because I kind of thought, oh, it looks a lot like. Oh my God, it is. It's so weird. It's this, and people took picture of her hair, which was really weird from behind to say that's Anna Wintour, which I thought was a little bit weird. But it's those statements, like, and I really hope that comes back, that you find kind of, to get a little bit out of your comfort zone. So just go for it.
And how are you feeling about seeing your clients again?
Do you know what? I even felt emotional just to walk in here or talking to you about hair so much, because it's been so long now, and you do have a very personal relationship, with your clients, especially the ones you do for a very long time. You go on a journey, and that's why I think so many clients miss the hairdressers and vice versa. There is such a big gap now, and I can't wait to go back and see them. It will be like a big party. Like last time, we were screaming the whole day, literally. Every hairdresser was like, because everyone was just so happy to see everyone again, or just see each other, because you work with these people every day, and it's so much fun normally that you kind of really excited to be back, because it's so social. I think the last time when I went back, and I can talk, oh my God, can I talk? But the last time I was actually exhausted. I came home and I was like this. I was like, oh my God. I was like, that was a tough day, because it's just that catching up and kind of talking to everyone. So I can't wait. I'm beyond excited. Yeah. And also what you said, you realize what it means to so many people to actually get that normality back and feel better. It's this moment, even just after an hour, you walk out and you feel completely different and so much better about yourself, which is, I mean, what a great job to have. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh, Andreas, I'm so excited about salons reopening in 2.5 weeks. It's so exciting, and I honestly think everyone will agree in saying that everyone can't wait to see their hairdressers. There is a real special relationship there. Thank you so much for
darling. Thank you.
Honestly, I've had such a great chat with you, and I feel very I feel a bit emotional seeing you in a salon, because it does make it just sort of makes us all realize how much we do miss our hairdressers.
And how normal it is, how it's just so normal to go to a hairdresser, but then to kind of see all these empty places and then to fill them again and all of that. So I think it will be amazing. I can't wait.
Thank you all so much for tuning in over the past 8 weeks. I've had so much fun with you all, and I've learned an incredible amount myself, and I've also had the honor to have so many amazing experts like yourself, Andreas, on the Telegraph Beauty School show. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, darling. I could sit here now for hours. I know. Next time, definitely. I can't wait to see you. Can't wait. It'll be so much fun. And I will do a little dance for you, darling. I will, I promise. Do a little German Lederhosen dance or something.
Oh my God, yes, please. With a glass of champagne, please. That would be great.
Perfect. Sounds the perfect combination. Thank you so much. Thank you
so much. Thank you everyone for joining. It's been great.